Good afternoon, Arsenal and footballing community. Weekly surgery is back. Hashtag Sunday solo session with Albert JTV. Arsenal transfer talk to talk about, people. But before we get into it, let's smash the intro. Footballing community, waiting time is now over. The Albert JTV practice is now open. The surgery required is Premier League talk and any other business. Let's get to work. Welcome to the weekly surgery. Yes, welcome back, people, to weekly surgery. On a Sunday, it's quite appropriate. We're going live 1 p.m., just after 1 p.m. UK time here. So big up to people who are watching live, not only on YouTube, but Facebook. And if you don't catch it now, then watch it on catch up. And we'll also be on all the audio platforms to listen to. Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your downloads. And let me start my microphone. What's going on, man? What's so far away? Yeah, happy Sunday afternoon, people, man. Weekly surgery. I thought, let me digest, World Club Cup football going on, transfers galore, rivals doing business, Arsenal fans getting edgy, irritated, irritable, whatever word you want to use to describe Arsenal's transfer window and policy. But people, let me go into the chat quickly. I see my main guy, Suj. Big up to you, my brother. What are you, Suj? You tell me again. Are you 11 hours ahead in Australia? Big up to Suj. People, round of applause, man. Audio listeners, imagine you can see Suj as well, man. Don't worry, man. It's cool. Let me sort out my camera. A big up to you guys for joining in. It's like I said, with a transfer kind of talk with myself personally speaking, I will always talk about it, but I'm just not gonna be inundated with posting stuff constantly about it because one, like most people, I have a job outside of YouTube, so I don't stream and post as frequently as I would like to or can do because of work purposes. So just confirming, just after 10 p.m. Big up to you, brother. I'm paying homage to Bruce Willis and his famous white vest in Die Hard because there's no way I was sitting in a t-shirt or jumper or any type of clothing in this kind of heat. It's not happening. I've got the heater on, but I didn't want to disrupt, not the heater on. So I've got the fan on, got the heater on this weather. I must be losing my mind. But now big up to the chat, man, when you do arrive. for the live stream. But where do I start? First, I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. As you know, it's the Women's Euros starting on, I think, is it the 2nd of July? In the week, me and my YouTube Tottenham wife have done a pre-record preview for the Women's Euros. If I can find it, it's there. So that has gone out live today at 12 p.m. UK time. Me and Holly pre-recorded the show last week Sunday because Holly was going to be too busy sunning it up in Mykonos, I believe it was. So we had to pre-record the show a week early for it to go out live today. So big up to the guest, Jack Lacey Hatton. Big up to Soccer Diva, Sophie Nicolau, Ray Kassim, and Demian Arriaga for a fantastic show. So people, please do go and watch that on YouTube either now or a little bit later. And like I mentioned, it will also be on the audio platforms as well. So people, please look out for that. So I want to give that a quick plug. A big up to my YouTube wife, who I think is still on holiday, getting a tan, but she will never be as dark as me, but that's going to be happening anyway. Lots of love to you, Holly. We'll continue to do some fantastic content for the Women's Euros. But where do I start, man? So many places I could start. Big up to you, Emerson, man, in the chat. Thank you, brother. Good summer is absolutely roasting. Tomorrow in the UK, I believe over Monday and Tuesday, it's going to be in excess of 32, 33 degrees. So it's going to be a hot one, particularly with my job being on the outside world and dealing with the mean streets of Southeast London. Yeah, should be fun tomorrow, man. A lot of drinking, not alcoholic, but a lot of drinking. So where do I want to start? Transfer window, obviously. And one thing I must say, like I always say this, as much as I have a channel, I am also a consumer of content that I watch to see what people are saying about the latest ongoings at Arsenal Football Club. And you guys know my age. If you don't know already, I turned 44. Oh God, 2 weeks ago exactly today. And I've seen a lot of stuff in terms of Arsenal, man. And I'm going to talk specifically about the transfer stuff. So let's start with the striker situation, because I want to get that out of the way first, because I don't actually want to spend too much time on it. I was asked on the 12th Man podcast, big up Dan Potts. This was probably a few months ago now, in terms of the who I wanted as a striker. Now, anyone that knows me particularly well, or a little bit well, knows that I had nothing against the links at the time when they happened for Arsenal strikers. Your Ivan Toney's, your Alexander Isak's, Ollie Watkins, which hasn't totally gone away yet. But my name that I gave, which was quite a surprise to a few people, was Victor Gyökeres at the time. That's quite a while ago. I kind of first spoke about him when I went to the Arsenal game, technically 2 seasons ago now, when we played Brighton at home. I think we won 2-1. And Declan Rice, I think he scored in that game. Fact check me, people. And I bumped into my good friend Tom Canton when I was on the way home from the game. And I said about strikers, I said, Victor Gyökeres is one that Arsenal needs to look out for. I liked what I saw at Coventry, so he's used to the physicality of playing in England. Got a very good move to Sporting Lisbon. Coventry did well out of it in terms of sell-on clause. And when, irrespective of whatever country you play your domestic football in, because I don't watch Serie A every week, I don't watch the league every week, but there are people that I can ask who do watch it. And for a player to have done as well as he's done, to have the goals output that he has had, is nothing short of phenomenal. And we hear a lot about Mikel Arteta talking about market opportunities. This is more than a market opportunity with this guy. Now, he only recently turned 27. And I make that point because something seems to have happened in the Arsenal fan base over the last sort of few weeks, where if anyone's over the age of 25, 26, should we really buy them because there might not be potential for sell-on clause? Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll tell you what we'll do for our transfer policy then. We'll just buy players that are 21. and then we can have him for sell-on value. You can't just listen. You can't help the age that you're at. He's not over the hill. He's not in his 60s. He recently turned 27 on the 4th of June, I think it was. But his goal scoring record is absolutely phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I don't care if it's the Portuguese league, the Sunday league in the UK on a pub league, or in Serie A or league. You cannot ignore that kind of goal scoring capability. So for not just for Arsenal, but for any club, it'd be crazy not to look at someone like Victor Gyökeres. And obviously, there's been a long-term target at Arsenal in terms of the other guy I'm going to bring up shortly in a minute, and that is Benjamin Sesko. Now, that's been a long-term target. It's been a long-term target. It has been a long-term target. So when I was asked a question by Dan Potts on 12-Man podcast a few months ago, my reply was, I'm at the stage now as an Arsenal fan with the striker situation, the striker talk, where I don't care who we get in, just fill the role. And those were my exact words to that effect. Because I can sit here and tell you that I want Gyökeres. I've said that since December 2023. But realistically, when Mikel wants a specific player, that's it. I think the only reason, I don't think the only reason, I think it's the reason why the Victor Gyökeres talk has come up in regards to Arsenal is because Andrew Burt has come to the club. Because there was I didn't hear anything from Arsenal in terms of an interest in Gyökeres. Yes, it might be somebody that they admired, but football clubs admire players. Doesn't mean they're going to go and purchase them. So we didn't really hear anything until obviously Andrew Burt is here and the Gyökeres link started. So that's where Arsenal fans have been a little bit more seduced by it. And I've seen the ridiculing of SESKO, Benjamin Tesco, and all that kind of thing. Let's not do this, man. Come on, he's not an Arsenal player. I don't expect many players at SESKO's age to be the finished article. I just don't. There can be good players, but they're not going to be the finished article. Just get any stats up on screen for audio listeners. So yeah, his goal scoring record is not going to pull up trees. Just as Alexander Isak's record wasn't fantastic at Real Sociedad. But then I don't expect, 20, 21-year-olds to be smashing 25, 30 league goal campaigns for the first 3-4 years of their career. It's very rare that will happen unless you're a Haaland. What's it? Over 300 career goals? Insane already. Haaland, that's a rare breed. But yeah, that's his sort of goals record, Benjamin Sesko, being at Red Bull Salzburg and on RB Leipzig. So I've seen attributes of him that are very, very good. But I think the problem you're going to have at Arsenal, irrespective of whether it's Sesko or Gyökeres, is we played a style of football last season where it wasn't enjoyable to watch. It was too static. It was too slow. We were very predictable. So you can buy your gunman to play up front for Arsenal. But the problem is, are we going to move the ball quick enough? And are we going to get the ball outside in wide areas into the box quick enough for a Sesko and a Victor Gyökeres to prosper? Tactically, we're going to have to change things. And I'm not sure if the manager's tactically flexible enough to do that. I don't see enough of a plan B or C with Mikel. Some people will disagree. That's up to them. But I don't see enough of a flexibility or a use of the squad. But I just want to quickly double back because obviously I saw the news broke, the tweet from Fabrizio Romano, which is probably about 25 minutes ago, that Arsenal have agreed a fee with Valencia for Christian Mosquera, another defender, people, a centre-back, which I assume would be right side cover for Saliba. I don't know too much about him, hence the reason why I can't say too much about him, full stop. It's amazing seeing content creators say that he's a good signing, but they've never seen him play before. Mate, that makes sense. It's unbelievable, man. Some of the stuff I see from our content creators, Arsenal content creators, he's a good signing. He'll be a good signing, but I've never seen him play before. How's that going to play out in a court of law? Unbelievable, honestly. Yes. Let me come to my chat box quickly, man. All dear listeners, bear with me. Yeah, Emerson, big up to you, man. I think I came to a message before. I'm sick of looking at sell-on clause. If we could produce 30 goals for 4 seasons, that's good for me. And the thing with the GYOKERES thing is, at the time when I saw it, the release clause was 87 million euros, I think it was. So Arsenal would have known what it was. But then again, I come back to what I said before. I don't think he was on the radar for Arsenal to buy or to want to go for. They went for SESKO, that was obvious, but he wanted another year at Leipzig, was it? It's not like Arsenal do well in selling players anyway. That's why I brought Bert to the club. Hopefully he'll help with that. Maybe not instantly, but in the time that he's here. Yes, Doug, my Liverpool brother, man. Doing well, man. I'm cooking, bro. I've got the Bruce Willis vest on, man. I couldn't be sitting in there in a t-shirt. I'd have been sweltering to death. So yeah, the striker talk for me. I don't care now. Just get someone in. Get someone in. I'm sick of hearing about profile of player. I'm sick of hearing about, oh, GYOKERES is turned 27. You wouldn't be able to get a sell-on value. Go and get the best. Go and get the man you want. I've heard enough of the spin for 18 months. Just go and get the man you want. And that's the end of discussion for me in terms of the striker thing, man. I don't want to talk about it anymore, to be honest. But 2 other links that have alerted Arsenal fans is, or whetted our appetite, should I say. Now, you guys will know, if you've known me long enough, I am a massive fan of this guy that's been linked with Arsenal pretty recently, and that is EZE. Now, let me tell you the quick story. When I first came into YouTube, very short space of time, I said this would have been probably within the first 3 or 4 months. And I put the clip out a few weeks ago, actually, about EZE, being a big fan of his when he was at QPR. So basically what it was that this was before COVID. So I think that would have been probably the 2018-19 season, or 2019 against 2020. I remember, but before COVID, definitely. And when I worked at my previous employment back in the charity sector, I got on well with a QPR fan who worked in another department, and he said to me at the time that EZE is somebody that you should look at, not one, because he's a brilliant footballer, and 2, he's someone that Arsenal should be looking at or keeping tabs on. There's a QPR fan that told me that quite a number of years ago. So I watched him, done some digging, looked at his stats. Were very good actually in the championship for QPR at the time. Got the move to Palace. Great bit of business by them. Had a lot of injuries, sort of in his first early part of his Palace career, and I said this when I did the collaboration with my YouTube Tottenham wife when we did the preview show for the men's Euros, and EZE made the squad. He's a beautiful player to watch. Now, I'm a big sports fan, a big tennis fan. And someone like Roger Federer was obviously a top-class player and world-class player and won the slams he won. But to watch him play, he was a beautiful player to watch. Eze is the same thing in football terms. He looks so effortlessly when he plays. It's effortless. Beautiful touch, glides across the pitch. Said this over 4 years ago now. He's the type of player that Arsenal don't have, and Arsenal haven't had for years. Can play that left 8 role, can play wide, can play in the 10, won't be just stationary to that position. Brilliant at a dead ball free kick. I think 8 goals, 8 assists last season. Big game player. Got the goal against Nottingham Forest in the semi-final of the FA Cup. Did they beat? Was it no? Did they beat again in the semi-final? No. Who did Palace beat again? I've got it wrong now. So who did Palace beat in the semi-final of the FA Cup? He scored in that game. Big game player, and obviously scored in the final as well. And the winning goals. So for me, he's a player I wanted at Arsenal for years. We had him when he was young. From all reports, I think he's an Arsenal fan as well. And I said at the time many years ago, I obviously didn't believe it when I said it, but I said we'll bring him back to red carpet one day. And I think for me, the whole Nigerian heritage thing, the likes of him and the other guy I'm going to talk about. But let me come back to the screen. But Eze would absolutely walk into our side at Arsenal. I don't care what anyone tells me, whether it's from a stat point of view, whether it's from just the eye test. He walks into that Arsenal side by a country mile, and I will have no one try and tell me otherwise with that. And another player we've been linked with, and it's that there were rumors before. I don't know how concrete they were. Where's he gone now? Was Ademola Lookman. Has spent time in England previously before. African Footballer of the Year, I think last year. 15 goals, 5 assists last season, Serie A for Atalanta. Scored that fantastic hat-trick in Europa League final technically 2 seasons ago now, if I'm going to be really technical about it. Great hat-trick, by the way. Has gone and done his apprenticeship. Played in England. Spent time at Charlton, Fulham, Everton, Leicester. Gone to another country, done well. Pace galore. A decent finisher, in my humble opinion. And if players like Lookman and players like Eze become available, you absolutely bite the hand off and try and bring these 2 players to the football club. They would transform Arsenal from an offensive point of view tenfold. It's not even debatable. Now, I remember I had a discussion with an Arsenal fan a few weeks ago, and I said this before on Weekly Surgery or just my channel in general, is that for me, Arsenal lack pace in the side. They don't have enough pace for me. Hence the reason why we don't move the ball quick enough as well, which doesn't help, because you need runners to run in behind, run beyond your striker, or your striker to run beyond the centre backs, or your wide forwards to get behind the fullbacks. It doesn't happen enough at Arsenal. Someone said to me, in terms of Martinelli, you talk about pace, Albert, but if we got rid of someone, if we moved on someone like Martinelli, for example, my answer to that is, well, I don't particularly have loads and loads of sentiment for players. I like players, but not to the point that I'm blinded by them. So you get someone for me that's either as quick as Martinelli or quicker, but most importantly, has a better end product. And for me, Lookman has that over him. That's just my own personal opinion. So people, drop some questions in the chat if you can, if you're there. Because I'm not going to do a long string, so I want to enjoy the weather. Well, not enjoy the weather a little bit, just relax and do some more, what can I put it? Sunday relaxing, should I say. But yeah, someone like Lookman for me. Now, Lookman turns 28 in October. It's actually Ebere Eze's birthday today, I believe. So he turned 27 today. Happy birthday, brother. Hopefully I'll get to meet you one day and we'll go and eat some jollof rice and chicken, man. Love Eze's absolute class. And Lookman. So for me, if you want players to enhance your team and make it better, and if you ask me the question, for example, do these type of players make a difference to Arsenal? And most importantly, would these players help Arsenal potentially get over the line for a Premier League? Absolutely 1000%. Shouldn't even be questionable. Now, I know a lot of people, a lot of Arsenal fans, from what I see online, they're very seduced by the idea of bringing in Rodrigo in. Cool, no problem. I wouldn't say no to him either. But don't ignore, I always say this, I'm a big advocate for buying within the league. 100,000%. There are players in the league that you can get. Now, everybody's turned into accountants and the wages. I can't leave that side to it, but it is an important factor because it does hamper you in terms of who you can bring in, because I'll be looking at, right, that guy's getting a certain amount of money or blah, blah, blah. That conversation, and players do think like that. And then obviously you chuck agents in that as well. But people, let me just quickly go to the... So I have to give a big shout out to my main man, Potsy, for doing a raid. So love for Potsy for doing that. And big up to the people for joining the chat. Smash the like button on the way in. I don't normally do stream at this time, but I thought, you know what? Sunday, not really a fan of the World Club Cup football. So there you go. But big up to people in the chat. Drop your questions down. I don't know how much you've caught, But yeah, basically, let me do a little quick recap for the guys that just joined in. So big up Potsy for that. I'm going to give him a big virtual kiss when I get the chance to when I come off live. But big up Jay Dam. I just see you in there, Ryan Arsenal. Big up to you, for the football. Thank you, man. What I was saying is that Mikel talks a lot about market opportunities, and in my humble opinion, the likes of EZE, the likes of Ademola Lookman, they're ready. They're ready. Eze's Premier League proven. He's got through the injuries. Big game player. Beautiful player to watch. We don't have a player like him at Arsenal. Lookman's done his apprenticeship, been played for a number of different English clubs. Didn't work out at the time. He's gone to Atalanta, has been brilliant. He's been excellent for Nigeria as well, for his national team. Those two guys, for me, in my humble opinion, would improve Arsenal tenfold. Transition, attacking play. Because the reality is, right, Arsenal were like 20 plus goals down on last season. That you can't, and combine that with the fact that we had 14 draws. We had 5 draws in the 23-24 season, and in the season before that we had 6 draws. We've even still done more draws last season than the combined total of the 2 seasons before. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So no, for me, people say, is it Eze or Rodrigo? And if you guys remember in the chat, there was a similar discussion in terms of when the talk was Caicedo or Declan Rice. Many people were like, you know what, we need both. Because Arsenal's midfield needs a transformation. And someone touched on the chat earlier in regards to what did they say now? In regards to Arsenal not selling well. That's a huge problem for a number of years. And in terms of transfer window, I hear Arsenal say a lot about Arsenal fans say, look, it's a big summer. I've heard that for a number of years. And I think the thing with Arsenal is that, and depending, I don't know, people, you can't take, for example, you can't help how old you are as an Arsenal fan, right? So I'm in my early 40s. You've got people in the chat that are probably in their late 20s, early 30s, whatever, whenever you started supporting the club. If you've looked at Arsenal transfer policy, and by the way, when I say this, I'm not excusing them, by the way. Arsenal don't hit it hard in windows. They don't. You could go back over a number of years. When we bought Alexis Sanchez for how at the time it seemed like a lot of money, that was what was that the 2013-14 season or 2014-15 season? I think he was about, I can't remember what he was now. Drop in the chat for me. Nicholas Pepe, Declan Rice, Mesut Ozil. We don't, if you look at all those names I just mentioned, that's over a period of over 10, 11 years. That's not like Arsenal spending big in 1 or 2 windows. As I mentioned before, I don't have a problem with buying within the league, for example. But get the right players. So when the likes of Eze are available, because I think from the rumors you hear, depending on who you like to listen to, he's open to the move. And I think Palace, if this is right, are happy to do a structured deal. And Arsenal love a structured deal. So that this would be perfect, man. This would be absolutely perfect. But yeah, 35 million. Yeah, let me come to chat quickly. I want to show you guys some love, man. I appreciate it, man. Big up Potsy, man. Ryan Arsenal, love, bro. Big up to Junior. AFTV raid there. Thank you for subscribing, people. Come to chat quickly. Big up Food on Football in there. Yeah, listen, Arsenal, you know what it is? And chat, it'd be interesting to know what you guys think in the chat, right? Let me get my queen up on the screen. Come on, Soph. People, please big up the Hybrid Squad and subscribe to her. Subscribe to Sophie's channel, Hybrid Squad, man. Big up to you guys, man. It is draining, it is, because I think, like I said, I come back to what I said before. Depending on when you start supporting Arsenal, we do this a lot in the window. It takes, even the players we do purchase, your Pepes, your Lacazettes, your Aubameyangs, it does seem to take really, really long. It's quite a drawn out process. I can feel the color. Can feel the color from my face draining because we talk about it a lot. But there's elements of it. Look, right. I don't know what you guys think in the chat. Now, I get it with the goalkeeper situation with Kepa because he's an ex-Chelsea player. But I think this is just my own humble opinion. I think Arsenal fans would have been more angry if we'd have went and spunked 25 million pound on Juan Garcia, who's had established season being a number one last season for Espanyol, now has got the move to Barcelona. If we went and spent 25 million pound on a goalkeeper to be our number two, that would have made no logical business sense. So I get the Kepa links of him being ex-Chelsea, but he did all right at Bournemouth. If you can get a goalkeeper who's Premier League experience, proven, whatever way you want to phrase it or chop it up, for what, £5 million release clause, knows he's coming as a number two. Not to say there's not going to be a competitive edge between the two goalkeepers, but he's coming as a number two. Then fair enough. If you go and bring in Christian Norgard, which, look, let me be honest, right? I'm not saying he's not a good player. He's playing in the Premier League for a good, 4 or 5 years now. I think he was linked with Spurs a few years ago, if I've got that right. I'm not too sure. For like about 40 million, if that's true. So if you lose Jorginho and you're losing Thomas Partey, you have to bring someone in. Now, he's not injury prone. That's a good thing with Christian Norgard. But if any Arsenal fan has said to me, or anyone in football said to me, at the summer window going into 25-26 season, Arsenal going to bring Christian Norgard, I would not have believed you. And that's not being disrespectful to him, but I just think if Arsenal want to try and get over the line, because the plausible question is going to be asked all the time, can Arsenal get over the line? Are they just going to be nearly men? Or, as they say, always a bridesmaid, never the bride. Is that the saying? Now, will a midfield Zubimendi, who was a good player, by the way, and Christian Norgard, who's not going to start every week, obviously, I understand, going to help Arsenal get over the line to win the Premier League? Maybe not. We might. I could be completely proved wrong. But in terms of, I always say this: when you are in a position of when strengthen from a position of strength, Liverpool absolutely have gone by that. City, despite the season they had last season, brilliant signings, and I think they're linked with Tino Livramento as well from a few weeks back. But they got Norway, Reinders, Ryan Cherky's a baller, really good player. Looking forward to seeing him play in the Premier League. And it's difficult, and I get it with Arsenal fans. I get it, whether you're a YouTube content creator or you're someone that just has got a social media account and you see your rivals doing business and Arsenal appear to be moving slow. I get the frustration. But again, let me come to chat quickly and let me bring that comment up. Big up Junior Norgard. Norgard is decent experience cover, and let's be honest, he at Brentford has been able to do great jobs against the big teams. Good agent doesn't jam pipeline for a potential switch to MLS. Cool. That's a good point with the MLS thing. It'd be interesting to see, because I think Pep needs to, in terms of the City. Yes, you can play great football, possession football, keep the ball well, knacker teams out, but City needed more energy in there. They needed more legs in there. You know, you've got Reinders, you've got Cherky in there. Rodri's coming back. Are they going to be tactically a little bit different, Manchester City? So I haven't seen the Club World Cup, so I can't say for sure as a little snippet. But they might have to tweak something. Mikel has been mentally scarred in the last couple of seasons, man. That's obvious. And it's difficult to go for the third time again when you've been close twice before. But what I want to see from Arsenal going into next season, I'd be interested to see what you guys think in the chat, is I've always said for Arsenal to be in contention to win the Premier League, you've got to hit 90 points plus. Now, people will argue, they'll go, oh, yeah, but there's been seasons where City and Liverpool haven't got 90 points. But the reason for me why they didn't get the 90 points when they won the respective Premier League titles in the seasons they did is because they'd already won the league at a certain point, and Liverpool dropped off last season. To me, if they'd have carried on the same way, they'd have easily gone past 90 points. So when Arsenal fans come back to me and say, oh, look at the total amount of points that Arsenal have amassed, that's great to look at from a statistical point of view. But for example, I've got an 8-year-old nephew, for example, and you guys in the chat must probably got family members that are into football, girls or boys, whatever. So, you know, Google's out there, Yahoo's out there, other search engines are out there. My nephew can go and look up Google, see what Arsenal won in the future, see what Arsenal won in the past and how they won it and what players were key. My nephew's not going to go onto Google and search and look up to see how many total points Arsenal amassed over 3 seasons and we didn't win anything. He's just not going to do that. Again, stats can be, people say sometimes they can be misleading. They can, what's the word I'm looking for? Lend to a particular argument. But like I said before, like I just said, because I've had people say that to me in terms of, oh, look at the amount of points amassed that Arsenal have had in the last 3 seasons. And I'm like, okay, but the cold hard light of it is football is not a long career. Look how long it's taken Harry Kane to get his first domestic trophy. All the personal accolades and the goals he scored, he's only just got over the line now. And he's in his late 20s. The likes of your Sakas, the likes of your Gabriels and your Salibas and your Declan Rice are thinking, you know what, we're getting close, but we need to get over the line here. And I'll never forget these words. I'm not going to stay too long. Big up to people in the chat. Smash the like button and subscribe to Albert J TV. This will go out on the audio platform as well. We've all seen when Mikel Arteta turned up at the Arseblog Arsenal Vision podcast. And let's have it right. I didn't expect Arsenal fans to sit there and sit on their hands and throw tomatoes at the manager. You know, they're going to applaud him. He's the manager of Arsenal. But Mikel said that we need to be a little bit more patient. That was the day before we played Newcastle in the Premier League. And you're like, have we not been patient already? Are we being entitled? Are we going overboard? I don't think we are. You know, one thing that pained me last season, and I don't know what you guys think in the chat. And for those of you that are new to my channel, appreciate the love and support and subscribe to the channel. But I've said this before. When I watched Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea pick up trophies. Even I saw Aberdeen, my Scottish team, pick up a Scottish Cup for the first time in 35 years. It really burned me, man. It really pissed me off, if I'm going to be really, really honest. And I said this before, because you've got no God-given right to turn up at a major final or a Wembley final or an European final and win. You got to go and earn it. Bologna, good shout. Again, great shout. People win. But, you know, I saw plenty of people talking about, you know, and let me give another example. When obviously Thierry Henry went onto the overlap, and he spoke about, he gave Mikel praise, by the way. That seems to have got lost in translation. And he mentioned that as bad as United have been, you know, they've been in, you know, quite a number of cup finals. I don't think it is wrong for him to turn around and say that, but I've seen more energy from fellow Arsenal podcasters or people on social media have more energy and be more combative to an Arsenal legend, a Premier League icon, and Thierry Henry, just for saying that. It's like you're willing to hold him more to account than the manager. We can talk about the summer window of last season and January transfer window, which were not good enough. And I've said that hundreds of times. But there's almost this kind of feeling sometimes that so let me come to your chat, Matthew, because I want to. So let me come to Matthew's chat, and I'll come back to what I was saying. It's Arteta that's overachieved with 2 incredible enough of unforeseen Premier League runs. Now fans are saying win next season or leave. Matthew, the only thing I'd say to that is and I mentioned it earlier. I don't know when you just caught the I don't know how long you've been watching the stream. I said something a few years ago. I was on another Arsenal podcast, and I've spoken a lot about this on my channel before about I have sentiment being my Asia. I have sentiment to the likes of an Ian Wright that played for my club, or a Paul Merson, or a Kevin Richardson, or rest in peace Kevin Campbell. People that I grew up with, legends that won things. I don't necessarily have that with maybe the current crop of players in the last 5 to 10 years. That's because we've not particularly been decorated with winning silverware. And Henry was very clear what he said. Arsenal fans are not silly, Matthew. Like, we know for a fact Mikel's done some fantastic things. But I'm going to say what I repeated about 5 minutes ago. The plausible questions are always going to be asked, can he get us over the line? Now, I went onto the hybrid squad when we played Brighton away last season, and we drew 1-1. And it's the first time I went, and it's the first time I vocalized it and said it. And I said that sometimes, whether you're a team that goes for the Premier League, whether you're a team that's going for European qualification, or you're trying to stave off relegation, sometimes, irrespective of what you think of the playing staff for Arsenal, let me get that in there. Sometimes players need to hear a new voice. They need to hear a new set of tactics. They need to hear a new direction. And me and Sophie got pelters in the chat for that. We got told we've been disrespectful. I've grown up knowing life of Arsenal before Arsene Wenger. And I'm being told by Arsenal fans in the podcast chat that I'm being disrespectful to the current manager. And I said 3 years ago that I could see the kind of, you can like the manager, whatever, wanting to do well. That's fine. Everybody wants that at their respective clubs. But to the point that if you say anything against Mikel, and I'm not talking about wanting him sacked, by the way. I'm talking about if you critique him or you try to hold him accountable, the Arsenal fans pile in on you. And I've been doing this platform long enough to have seen the change that's happened in the last 2-3 years. So I'm one for being patient. But Liverpool fans had to be very patient to get Premier League title for not winning one since the Premier League existed, when they won it in COVID. So that's what I'd sort of let's just say, well, I'd answer that, Matthew, man, if that makes sense to you. But yeah, listen, people say to me, who would you get in? Don't ask me who the next Arsenal manager would be. I didn't know who the next Arsenal manager would be after George Graham. Remember the famous newspaper headlines about Arsene Wenger? Arsene who? We got him from Grampus 8 in Japan. Yes, he managed at Monaco, but even the players the Arsenal players that played back then in the late 90s would tell you never heard of him until then. We got George Graham, one of our legends. To me, he should absolutely have a statue outside the stadium. We got him from Millwall. So when people say, for example, I'm not saying you sack out, you get rid of the manager tonight. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying that to suggest that there's nobody in world and European football to take Arsenal to the point where they actually get over the line is crazy talk to me. And that's what I say to the fans who absolutely idolize Mikel. I can have that discussion with you. I don't need to cuss you. I don't need to shout at you. I don't need to swear at you. I can sit here and debate you and say to me, I don't think it's impossible to look beyond life at Arsenal after Mikel. This is going to be a big season. We have to change the way we play, man, because I get the mental scars are there from the last 2 seasons, but getting over the line is the hardest job to do. But we're close, but we're not close enough. And I have this analogy. When you go on holiday, people, and you get on the plane, You don't just keep getting on the plane, do you? Your plane has to get to the destination where you're going to. It's the same thing with Arsenal going for trophies. There's only so long. The pressure is going to be huge on Mikel. You saw towards the back end of last season when we struggled to cement second place, and some of the stuff he was saying in press conferences. I get it. It's pressure. I understand it. You didn't get backed in. You didn't get backed in January when we knew we needed help. We can't be in. Put it this way: we can't be in a situation again where we are in a semi-final of a Champions League, and where we need goals to get back into the game, and we're bringing on Ricardo Calafiore and Benjamin White to get a goal. That can't happen again. That cannot happen again. Cannot see a situation like that. Let me come to the chat quickly. Just because I'm afraid you're not making a valid point. Nobody idolizes Mikel. We finished second with the machine he's building. You can't see that. I can see a lot. No, Jars. If I said your name right, if I said it wrong, I apologize. I don't know what channels you watch. I don't know how long you've been watching Arsenal content for, but I'm a very, 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 very small voice. And I don't know how long you've been joining the podcast for, but I did mention Mikel's done some very, very good things at this club. But what I also said was the plausible question is always going to be asked. Can he get us over the line? How long do you give it before you say to yourself as an Arsenal fan, no, Jars, you know what? Maybe we might need to look into a different direction. I think that's a plausible question to ask. It's not about whether I can't see it. I've been an Arsenal for a long, long time. I've seen a lot of pain. I've seen some good times. But I think, like I said, going off the back of the season that we just finished, it's hard when you see people win trophies. We haven't won one for about 100 years, or Newcastle was it 60 years, and Palace winning their first FA Cup. That's what I mean. So hopefully, you say people no one idolizes Mikel. I'll go back to what I said a minute ago, that if you criticize him, I'm not talking about wanting him sacked, if you offer a different alternative or viewpoint about Mikel or his tactics or the in-game management or the proactiveness during games or subs, that's what I mean. And I think that's plausible to say that. Let me come to the chat quickly. Let me see what you guys are saying, man. You guys, big up to you guys that are here, man. Yes, your new coach is online, but it's probable he'll doing the same elite players that Arteta has been asking for. You think Lewis Enrique wins the Premier League with the same squad deficiencies? Matthew, I don't know. I'm not a coach. I'm not an expert. I don't know. But like I said, I think Mikel's been mentally scarred the last couple of years, going so close. And I thought Arsenal would struggle a little bit last season, and they did. Injuries or not. And also as well, I think there's a little bit with some of the Arsenal players where there's times when we're a little bit mentally fragile, a little bit still. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. Because I mentioned before in terms of the Brighton game, for example, in the Premier League last season, and I was having a discussion with Arsenal fan a few weeks ago, saying, "Oh, but we had certain players out that day, and the penalty decision." I said, "Okay, I'm going to use your logic in terms of the injuries because they did impact us last season. I understand that it was kind of our turn in the Premier League to get injuries. Liverpool had it a few seasons ago; they were decimated. Tottenham last season, I think Chelsea had plethora a couple of seasons ago of injuries." And I said, and people have heard me say this to my channel as well, that when we played Newcastle in the Carabao Cup last season, I was really angry with that game. And I'll tell you why. Because Arsenal, we have a nucleus of this side, right, that have played together now for a good 2-3 seasons, maybe a little bit more. And that was a massive, massive game where we were poor in the first leg and we were poor in the second leg. Now, the reason why I bring up the injuries is because I've been told, obviously, particularly with that Brighton game, we had certain players missing. I'm like, cool. When we played Newcastle in that second leg in the Carabao Cup, we got bullied. The only player that was missing in that game, fact check me if I'm wrong in the chat, people, was Saka. Lewis Skelly played. Gabriel played. Saliba played. Timber played. Rice played. Erdegaard played, Thomas Partey played, Havertz played, and we put in a performance like that in a semi-final of a cup competition to get to Wembley, and we haven't won a trophy for 6 years. That's not acceptable. And that's not about injuries, by the way, because I just reeled off the players that played in that game over 2 legs, particularly in the second leg, and we were poor, very poor. And one thing we need to create at Arsenal is a winning culture. Now, people can mock Chelsea for winning the Europa Conference League. I think their average age of their squad is 24, if I got that right. They've won something. They know what it's like to win. You have that winning culture to take forward into a new season. Arsenal haven't got that, with the exception of Kai Havertz winning the Champions League with Chelsea and Bukayo Saka being part of the FA Cup winning squad in 2020. We're not decorated with players that have won silverware. And that's a big problem. Yes, we've made leaps and bounds defensively. For example, Arsenal, we've been excellent. I think best defensive records, in the last couple of seasons. We're not that team we're seen as a soft touch or we can be bullied anymore. Arsenal have got that right, but we've gone so far the defensive side and the physicality side. We've lost the speed of transition and the getting on the half turn and breaking teams down. I watched the under-21s game yesterday. Big up to Lee Carsley, 2 tournaments in a row winning the under-21 European Championships for England. Some of their play yesterday, in terms of their breaking play and getting forward quickly, was superb to watch. I didn't see that a lot. I didn't see that with a lot of Arsenal last season, and that was before the injuries and with the injuries. So listen, people, we are 54 minutes in. There's a lot in the chat, man. So apologies if I didn't get to all you guys in the. Big up to you guys in chat if I didn't get to answer all your questions, but I don't know. You guys are putting a lot in the chat. I can't keep up with it, man. I need to get some mods in here, man. But big up to you guys in the chat. Big up Junior. Big up Cal. Big up No Jars. Big up. Who else is in there? J Dime, my guy. Big up to all the big up Dan Potts for the raid. But yeah, people. Buckle up. This is Arsenal Football Club we're talking about. So yeah, it can be very painstaking. Like I said, you guys, depending on your ages. You've seen this with Arsenal in the transfer window. You've seen this in the Arsenal transfer window. We do take long to get things done. I get it. Listen, we've got a backup goalkeeper in. We've obviously been linked today. I think Fabrizio tweeted now an hour ago about Christian Mosquera coming in. You obviously brought in Christian Norgard. We've got the contract deals done with Lewis Skelly, Gabriel. I think Saliba and Saka are probably impending. I'm sure they'll come out pretty soon enough. So there has been work done. It's not that work hasn't been done. The speed of the work done, as fans, would we like it to be a little bit quicker? Of course we would. But this is Arsenal Football Club we're talking about here, man. But people, big up to you guys in the chat, man. Honestly, man, I appreciate the difference of opinion and all this kind of things. And listen, Brian Clough, the famous Brian Clough, said one time that football's about opinion. It absolutely is. Trust me, man. Being in this sort of YouTube space talking about Arsenal, it can be. It's not easy, man. It's not easy, and we want the club to be successful. You know what I mean? We've not made a final since we won the FA Cup. No League Cup since '93 when Casey and Wright were playing. No Premier League since 03-04. You know what really burns me before I go, people? It's not trophy greed, man. It absolutely isn't. Is one thing that's always bugged me. I mean, I was lucky enough to be alive to see Arsenal win their last European trophy, which is a long time ago in 1994. But yeah, our European record is not decorated, man. It really, really isn't. I think if Tottenham win the Super Cup, that's them on, what's that, 4 trophies now in their club's history in Europe. That's one thing I hope in my lifetime we improve a lot more than we have done since winning a trophy in 1994, and from an European point of view, because I just think when you win in Europe, it elevates the club tenfold. It's massive. It's massive. We've taken what's I going to say now? We've taken quick baby steps in the Champions League, being out of it for 7 years. and then coming back into it the last 2 years, quarterfinal, semi-final. A cup competition is hard in it. You know, you could just sometimes it is about on the day, but it's also making the right adjustments and tactical tweaks as well. But listen, if someone got me in, if we got in EZE and LOOKMAN and the striker, whoever it is, I don't know if you heard me guys say in the chat earlier. Big up to the guys that came late. I'm actually at a point now where I don't care who we get as a striker. Just fill that position and make sure when we do bring in that striker, we've got the support network around him from an offensive point of view to get them the ball, get the right service in, move the ball quick enough, get on the half turn, and get back to scoring. Was it 91 goals 2 seasons ago? I think 22-23 seasons. I think we scored 88. We scored. Did we score 69 goals last season in the Premier League? That's a big drop, man. It's a big drop. I mean, for Havertz to be a top goal scorer in the Premier League and the man was out for over 3 months is not great. 14 draws last season. We can't be doing that again. Absolutely not. Injuries or not. But people, I want to say a big thank you to you guys for joining in. Like I said, smash the likes, subscribe to Albert JTV. Listen, people will agree with what I say. People will disagree with what I say. They'll agree with Dan Potts. They'll disagree with Dan Potts. They'll agree with Simu or Canton or Lee Gunn or disagree. It's opinions. As long as Arsenal can get it right on the pitch and deliver us some silverware. For the players, the winning culture, what it's like to win. They don't have that at the club. It's painful to see. But people, big up to you. I'm going to log out now. Like I said, this will go out on the audios if you guys prefer audio rather than YouTube, or if you don't get the time to do it, depending on what you guys do for work. Because guys, where are you guys from? Tell me where. I'm obviously based in London, South East London, the UK. Where are you guys from? Drop in the chat quickly, man. Show love to your areas, man, respective areas. If I can get there, but let me see if I can find my outro. That will help. But people, Weekly Surgery, episode 39. Plenty to talk about. Lookman, EZE, GYOKERES, SESKO, the Arsenal roundabout. Plenty more to come from, man. Bangladesh, big up to you, man. Jesus, thank you, man. Big up to you, man. Trinidad, big up to you, man. Where else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Where? I know Suji's obviously in Australia. He is 10 hours ahead, so I appreciate you for joining in. Yes, heard of, yeah, man. Heard of Middlesbrough, man. Absolutely. Northeast. Big up to you, man. But people, thank you for the new subscribers and people joining in for Albert JT for the first time. Welcome back to the regulars that come here. But yeah, that's Albert. Yeah, big up Jay, man. I'm glad you got it just before I'm about to go. Go ahead then. Go on, lad. Look forward to seeing you next season, man. Cal, Australia, big up to you, man. Norjars, listen. Bless, man, for coming to the chat, man. Listen, Arsenal opinions are strong, man. And they always are, particularly during a summer transfer window or a January transfer window. But big up to you, man. People, that is Albert JTV over and out for episode 39 of Weekly Surgery. Arsenal, you've got more business to do. Let's go and do it. Over and out, people.